I'm Julia,
And I'm Michelle.
and this is Created or Contacted.
If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound?
What if the things that go bump in the night only exist because we're listening?
Every culture has spirits, every generation has stories. But one question nobody agrees on.
Are we experiencing the paranormal or are we creating it?
In this show, we step into the space between science and story, what we think we see, and what might have been there all along.
Through exploration of cases, historical phenomenon, personal experiences, and the strange moments where perception and reality collide, we will try to uncover the answer to
Is it real, or did we help make it real?
Sweet.
All right.
We got the intro eventually. We're going to have to chop it. If you couldn't tell, it's our first episode.
Yeah. Okay. So, in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the case of Arne Johnson. Most of you know from The Devil Made Me Do It. On February 16th, 1981, in the quiet town of Brookfield, Connecticut, 19-year-old Arne Johnson stabbed his landlord, Alan Bono, to death. This wasn't just another murder case. It would be the first time in American history that a defendant claimed demonic possession in a court of law. So what really happened? Were there documented signs of mental illness that went ignored? Did religious beliefs shape witness testimony? How much of this story was verified and how much was amplified? Today we'll be separating police reports from paranormal claims and courtroom facts from cultural folklore.
Woo!
Yay.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So the timeline, approximately 1980. Debbie, who was Arnie's girlfriend at the time, her younger brother, David, began violent outbursts, disturbing visions, and alleged paranormal activity was taking place. They contacted the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine, multiple priests to perform exorcism rituals. During one of these meetings, they had Johnson supposedly challenge the demon to enter him instead of David.
Never good. Never good.
Soon after, Johnson started showing strange behavior, trances, growling, hallucinations, memory loss. The claims of possession came from the Warrens and some family members, but there was no actual scientific proof. Now, as for the murder, Arnie and Debbie, they worked for Bono at his kennel. Johnson stabbed Bono multiple times in front of witnesses after a day of drinking and a disagreement.
Jesus.
Bono died hours later from severe chest wounds. Police arrested Johnson nearby shortly after, and he claimed that he did not remember the attack and needed help for a drinking problem.
Of course.
Let's fast forward to his trial. His lawyer, Martin Minella, argued that Arnie was not responsible because he was possessed. The courtroom became a battle between religion and paranormal claims versus legal standards and evidence. The judge, Robert Callahan, refused to allow possession as a defense because it was impossible to prove and scientifically and legally impossible to prove. So the defense then shifted to a self-defense argument. The jury deliberated for 15 hours and they convicted Arnie of first-degree manslaughter on November 24th in 1981. He got 10 to 20 years, but he served only approximately 5. He was released early for good behavior. While he was in prison, he married Debbie. This case was groundbreaking, and it led to several books, movies, documentaries. The book was The Devil in Connecticut, that was written in 1983 with the Warrens' involvement. In 1983, NBC made a TV movie called The Demon Murder Case. In 2021, The Conjuring, which we're all familiar with, The Devil Made Me Do It. And then in 2023, Netflix came out with a documentary called The Devil on Trial.
Okay.
This case is still heavily debated. The believers think that there were multiple priests included. Johnson did exhibit signs of possession. The Warrens' account was accurate. Then we have the skeptics. They say that possession can't be scientifically proven. Some of the Glatzel Debbie's family members later claimed that the Warrens fabricated or exaggerated the events, and David had mental health issues. So we have, the people who believe, and then the people that are like, no, it's all fake.
What do you think?
I think that there can be some sort of possession of some sort. I don't necessarily know that it was a case in this case. I think that he had some issues that went undiagnosed and unresolved. I think Debbie's younger brother also had some issues that went undiagnosed and unresolved. And I'm going to get into a little bit more about the family and where David came from. But this was the first widely publicized case of its kind. So it was, like I said, groundbreaking. It really showed the limits of religions and supernatural arguments in court. And it did influence pop culture and horror for decades. We're still talking about this. Happened 40 years ago, over 40 years ago.
And then have a documentary in 2021. It's
right,
crazy.
Right. And this is like one of Connecticut's most famous cases.
Yeah.
We're still kind of talking about it. A few years ago, I saw Arnie at a Paracon event. He was signing his book, so he's still very, and he had a line.
Yeah. I'm sure.
So it's still a very, prominent and in your face kind of thing that's still going on. So basically, the exorcisms were claimed by the Warrens and certain members of the Glatzel family. The Vatican has never come forward and said, yes, these were sanctioned exorcisms that we have approved. So there's that debate. Originally, they said David, who was Debbie's younger brother, began seeing a man with black eyes. He started exhibiting violent behavior, screaming fits, speaking in deep voices, levitating, being thrown across the room, predicting future events. They claimed that multiple demons were present. He would react violently to holy objects. He growled and threatened the priests. But like I said, the Catholic Church never publicly confirmed official Vatican approved exorcisms. They never took, or at least the Vatican is not claiming that these exorcisms took place. Arnie allegedly, like I said, challenged the demon during one of the rituals and invited him to take him instead. And that's when things started going sideways for Arnie. Some of the documented reports, like the police reports, medical and legal reports, yes, there were multiple religious deliverance sessions. That is documented. Yes, priests did visit the home. The family did seek spiritual help, and records suggest that they were prayer sessions, not exorcisms. There were no public Vatican certifications in any of the records. David did show severe behavioral disturbances. Again, the
clearly
outbursts, the violent behavior, possible trauma responses, mental health struggles. There was possible stress from family environment and suggestibility under intense religious pressure. So the family believed he was possessed. They pushed that narrative, and he fell into that.
Yeah, so he had to fulfill it. Yeah.
Yes. So the things that weren't verified, they could not verify that he levitated. They could not verify any supernatural voices, no demon sightings, no paranormal injuries. No, they couldn't verify the demon transfer to Arnie. what we have here is people saying, this is what took place. Arnie said, take me instead, as you see in the movie. And then Arnie started exhibiting these behaviors and David stopped.
Okay.
All right. So that's basically the story of Arnie. Do we think that these were just mentally unstable people? Arnie himself stated that he had a drinking problem. So the question is, was this a demonic possession, or was this just the result of somebody who had unchecked mental health issues and an alcohol problem?
What year was it again?
The whole thing started around 1980.
Okay. It's definitely not like a mental health time.
No.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't. No, we didn't have
lots of stigma on going to therapy and dealing with that kind of stuff for sure. I don't know.
And then we have David, the young boy, Debbie's younger brother, who grew up in a deeply religious household.
Yeah.
So, and in the court documents, or the legal and medical documents, there was reference to possible PTSD from the family environment. So that could be also a wide variety of things. So, the question is, do we believe, or is this something that we make up to justify our actions?
I mean, I'm all for a possession, but it really just feels convenient for this case.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I thought that, I watched the movie. I've seen all the Conjuring movies. Like, I get it. And it's a great story. But that coupled with, other members of the Glatzel family, other members of Debbie's family and David's family have said, yeah, a lot of this stuff was completely fabricated, or they enhanced it to make it sound more than what it was. So we have part of the family saying, oh no, this absolutely happened. Then we have other members saying, yeah, no, it didn't. I'm of the belief that no, it didn't happen.
No.
I don't think it happened. I don't think that Arnie was possessed. Maybe if I sat down and spoke with him, I would think differently. But the fact that he readily admitted to, police that he had a drinking problem. Do I think he might have gone off into a blind rage and, killed Alan and couldn't remember after? Yeah, I've had blind rages where I don't remember things. I never killed anybody, but a Taekwondo thing. I went into a blind. I think you were present for that.
Really? What happened?
Yeah, during testing, and I was sparring with a certain person, and he kicked me in the head, and I punched him in the throat. I don't recall punching him in the throat, but I had people come up and tell me after that I punched him in the throat, and I was
had that.
Okay.
I had the same thing, but it was with a girl who kicked me in the face.
Yes.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
I punched him in the throat, and I had people go, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, did what? And I legitimately could not recall. So do I believe that he could have gone into, he was drinking, they were arguing, he went into a blind rage and he stabbed him? Absolutely. I 100% buy that.
Pair blind rage with blackout.
Right. Drinking and blind rage. You're not going to remember. You're not going to remember. So I think that's more the case. And I think maybe because he was dating somebody who came from a very religious setting, and that they were already putting that seed that David was being possessed, I think they saw that as an opportunity to say, hey, I was possessed. I can't be held accountable for
my
that.
actions.
Right.
Was there evidence? Sorry, I can't remember it. Was there evidence of David being possessed? Like, was there anything?
There was no evidence. There was no nothing verified of the levitations that they said he had, of
Oh,
the
yeah. Okay.
supernatural voices that he did. Nobody has any legitimate evidence
Okay.
of that. And most of the things, like, um most of the accounts came from either the family that the deeply religious family, or the Warrens.
Mm. Which haven't been the most trusted source over the years.
Correct. And I've seen the Warrens
Yeah.
on a couple of occasions, and it's fascinating information that they, but I have also heard, not the most reliable
Yeah.
sources either. So,
Yeah. They wanted to make their money.
and they did.
They found a way.
They
They
did.
did found a way.
Yeah.
I was very excited to see them when they came to the high school, though.
Yes.
That was
It's
very
great.
fun.
It's a great
It's just
show.
I don't trust
It's a
them.
great show. And I mean, they had some pretty creepy stuff,
Mhm.
and they had a lot of audio recordings, and they had, video, and they told their stories. And I'll never forget, the first thing they said is, "Who wants to see a ghost?" And like half the, audience raised their hands. They're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay, well, sometime in your life you're going to see a ghost
No.
because you just asked for it." And they're like, "Well, no, I want to see a ghost now," like with all these people around.
Yeah.
And people started freaking out. And, like, the stories that they have are fascinating. What I think we are going to try to uncover is, are these stories that they're telling, are they legitimate, or are they us being so fascinated that we want them
Yeah.
to be real? We want to,
Be feed into it.
yeah,
Make it. a
yeah,
thing.
we kind of make it. And through, I mean, we're going to have a ton of court cases. We're going to
Mhm.
have a ton of, investigations. We're going to go to places. We're going to do our own stuff. And, I guess when push comes to shove, we're going to determine, and we're going to ask viewers
Yeah.
to put their input and
Their thoughts on
what
it.
what do you think?
Is it real, or
is it
did
real,
we
or
create it, or
right?
who knows?
Do
Is there
we?
another option that we don't even know?
Yeah, there could be door number 3, So, what are your thoughts? What are your suggestions? What are your takes on that? We'd
Mhm.
love to hear what other people think. Like, we're going to have our definite opinions on things. We're going to be like, yes, this is legit. No, this is fake.
Like,
What
this for sure is fake.
Right.
This is
Debunked, right?
for sure fake.
But what do you think? Do you think that Arnie was possessed? And what makes you believe so? We want to have both believers and skeptics weigh in,
Mhm.
so we can kind of, I hesitate to say scientifically, but I guess scientifically look at, is it more emotional based? Is it scientific? They could not find any scientific evidence.
Mhm.
That does not mean that scientific evidence does not exist in other cases.
Yeah.
Do we explain away what we don't understand as spirits, or, like they did with the Greek gods and the Roman gods? Well, we don't understand why it's lightning out. It's got to be Zeus,
Yeah.
Do we still do that to this day to explain the things that we have a hard time explaining? Or do we have enough scientific knowledge now to say, yeah, no,
Yeah.
this is it?
That's our goal. It's
Yeah.
our goal of this whole show. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Ideally
Hopefully
have
we
an
will.
answer, at least for each episode.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to say debunked.
Yeah. Fake.
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 Fake. Yes. All right.
Definitely made up.
Definitely made up. Yeah. That they made, it was a great movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie, but yeah.
And I mean, he only had 5 years in prison for killing
yeah,
somebody.
I mean,
so.
good behavior, I guess. When you don't get alcohol in prison,
Oh yeah, wait, how quickly did his
they got married while he was in prison.
no, but how quickly did his possession pass when he decided to go to, or not decided, he didn't decide to go to prison when he was put into prison.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's another thing, right? He's possessed. And, all of the exorcisms and things focused on David.
Mhm.
And then, you don't really, there wasn't much on them trying to have exorcisms on Arnie. It was, he was seeing things, he was hallucinating, he was, um, acting violent and all that stuff. And then next thing you know, he killed his landlord. And then next thing you know, he's in prison.
Yeah.
So there wasn't like the main focus of like the spiritual stuff, the exorcism, that was all on David.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the demon passed from David to Arnie, we kind of lose any kind of anything for them trying to help him until the murder. And
Yeah.
then he goes on trial and he goes to prison.
And then you don't hear
and then
about
he comes out
possessions in
and then he
prison.
writes a book and he sells it at Paracon.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, listen, it was an interesting case. I enjoyed researching it more deeply. Like, I only knew based on what was in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to learn a lot more, which is always fun.
Yeah.
But, looking at the movie, you're going, he's possessed. But then you look at it logically and scientifically, and you're like, yeah, no, he had an alcohol problem, and he had, I believe, undiagnosed mental health issues that, in the 80s, that wasn't top priority for people. So it stands to reason that it was those things, and not a demon or multiple demons. In this case, they were claiming it was multiple demons were possessing him.
Yeah.
Especially since they stopped. I guess the demons were like, yo, we ain't going to prison with you. So we're out. Because as soon as he went to prison, he was all right.
Yeah, stopped right at the door.
That's
interesting because I wouldn't think about the follow-up usually.
Right.
You're not thinking about it after the movie ends either.
Right.
So.
Right, what happens to
very
him.
interesting.
They got married and blah, 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 right? Which they did.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, they are still married to this day. So good for them.
Yeah, fun. But definitely fake.
But yeah.
Fake.
Definitely fake. All right.
What was our outro?
If you like what you heard and you're a fan of the creepy and unusual as much as we are, feel free to follow along, leave us questions, comments, or suggestions. We hope to see you next week.
Bye.
Cut.